It's not the economy. It's not your boss. It's not your degree or the family you came from or the country you were born into. Let's begin with the truth most people avoid their whole lives. You're not wealthy yet because you haven't become the person wealth requires. Wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you attract by who you become. And until you become the kind of person who can command, multiply, and manage wealth with honor and skill, it will elude you. No matter how hard you work, no matter how much you want it, because wealth doesn't respond to need. It responds to alignment. It flows to those who have built the internal infrastructure to hold it. It flows to those who have prepared, not just those who have wished. Let that sink in. Wealth is not just a result. It's a mirror. It reflects your beliefs. It reflects your standards. It reflects your habits, your decisions, your daily rituals. And if you're not wealthy yet, it's not because you're not worthy. It's because something in your way of being is repelling what you say you desire. You can say you want abundance. You can pray for prosperity. But if you're still living like someone trying to survive, you'll never become someone who can thrive. Because wealth is not just money. It's mindset. It's how you think about time, how you see opportunity, how you carry responsibility. It's not just how much you earn, it's how you expand what you earn. It's not how much you spend, it's what you value. And let's go even deeper. You're not wealthy because your identity is still tied to lack, because you still find comfort in the excuses that let you off the hook, because you still believe that rich people are greedy, because deep down you've never fully decided that you deserve more, because becoming wealthy isn't a strategy first, it's a decision. It's the moment you stop tolerating being broke. It's the moment you stop saying someday and start studying, start building, start becoming. Wealth begins the moment you take full ownership of your outcome. Not partial, not emotional, total. The moment you look in the mirror and say, if it's going to happen, it's up to me. No one's coming. No lottery, no rescue, no miracle. It's you. And that is not a burden. That is liberation. Because now you are free to build, free to transform, free to become the kind of person who can handle abundance. So where does that journey begin? It begins in the mind, because your mind is the gatekeeper of your fortune. And most people, they've never cleaned the gate. It's rusted shut with fear, doubt, scarcity, and small thinking. You have to rewire it. You have to rebuild the thoughts that define your limits. You have to learn to see opportunity where others see risk. You have to train your mind to expect abundance, not just wish for it. You have to see money as a tool, not a god, not a devil, a tool. And like all tools, it multiplies in the hands of those who know how to use it. But you can't use it well if your belief system is broken. If you believe wealth is for others. If you believe having money means you lose your soul. If you believe that wanting more makes you bad. It doesn't. It makes you responsible. Because the more you have, the more you can give. The more you control, the more you can direct. The more you grow, the more you can lead. And the world needs wealthy leaders with wisdom now more than ever. So step one is to break the mental chains, to uninstall the outdated programming that says money is hard, money is scarce, money corrupts, to replace it with truth. Money is a magnifier. It reveals who you are. If you're kind, it makes you kinder. If you're selfish, it makes you louder. If you're wise, it makes you dangerous to poverty, to suffering, to injustice. But the mind alone is not enough. Wealth also demands clarity. If you ask the average person what they would do with $1 million, they have no real plan. Just vague ideas, emotional desires, ego-driven lists. Wealth does not flow to the unclear. It avoids the uncertain. It moves toward the precise. How much do you want? Why? What will you do with it? What will you build with it? Who will you bless with it? Until you have clear answers, wealth remains indifferent. Because money, like energy, needs direction. It does not stay long in the hands of the distracted. It leaves the unsure and finds the intentional. And when you combine mindset and clarity, you unlock vision. And vision is what separates the wealthy from the wishful. A wishful person wants more. A visionary is already living in the future they're building. They move differently. They speak differently. They invest differently. They don't look for cheap thrills. They're building legacy. They don't ask, how much does it cost? They ask, what's the return if I master this skill, build this system, own this asset? Because that's what wealthy people think about return. Not just in money, in time, in energy, in impact. And when vision is clear, purpose ignites. And purpose is the ultimate multiplier. When you're driven by something deeper than status, when your wealth is tied to meaning, to mission, to movement, now, money becomes inevitable because value flows from you. Solutions flow from you. Leadership flows from you. And the world rewards those who solve problems, serve at scale, and lead with vision. And once you're walking in purpose, something sacred happens. Discipline becomes natural. Not because the work is easy, but because the why is deeper than the hardship. You stop needing motivation. You stop waiting for the right mood. You stop bargaining with your goals because purpose fuels consistency. And consistency builds empires. You want to know why you're not wealthy yet? Look at your standards. Not your statements, your standards. What do you tolerate? What do you let slide? What do you allow to steal your time, your energy, your focus? The wealthy are not casual with their time. They are not passive with their plans. They are not interested in average. They live by a code. They rise early. They think long. They move smart. They don't try. They train. They don't hope. They execute. Discipline is not a burden. It is the bridge between your potential and your profit, between your desire and your destiny. Every minute you spend unfocused is wealth leaking out of your future. Every day you skip the work is a compound return that dies before it ever lives. Every excuse is an invoice you hand the future version of you, the one who had dreams you didn't fight for. Wealth doesn't respect excuses. It respects execution. And that execution is not frantic. It's not desperate. It's strategic. The wealthy don't just work harder. They work wiser. They buy time. They build systems. They scale value. Because wealth is a function of value delivery at scale. Not being busy, not being seen, not talking about it, delivering value to more people, more efficiently, with more precision than anyone else. So ask yourself, what problem do I solve? Whose life gets better because I exist? What skill do I have that people would pay to access? And if you can't answer that clearly, you've found the reason you're not wealthy yet. This is not personnel, it's mathematical. Value in, wealth out. No mystery, no emotion, just law. And once you start creating massive value with deep skill under clear systems, then money has no choice. It flows, it follows, it multiplies. But only if you learn how to keep it. Because some of you made money. You got the raise. You closed the deal. You touched the edge of wealth and then watched it slip through your fingers, not because you didn't earn it, but because you didn't understand it. Wealth isn't just about making money. It's about keeping money, growing money, staying wealthy. That means mastering cash flow, understanding leverage, owning assets that don't sleep when you do. It means learning what wealthy people know, that income is not security, ownership is. That having money isn't freedom multiplying, it is. That wealth isn't a result of getting lucky. It's a result of getting literate. Money flows away from ignorance. It flows toward those who understand the rules. And the rules are not written in emotion, they're written in discipline and math. So study. Read what the wealthy read. Listen to what they listen to. Sit in rooms where your ego feels small and your vision expands. Because wealth is not found in your comfort zone. It lives in the stretch, in the risk, in the recalibration of who you think you are. And when that recalibration meets action, you begin to attract what you used to chase. You begin to earn what you used to envy. You begin to live what you used to only imagine. Because wealth is not just a number. It's a reflection of who you are, of what you've mastered, of what you believe you deserve. You are not wealthy yet because you are still in the process of becoming the person who never lets wealth escape again. And once you reach that point when you begin to truly become, everything slows down, but nothing gets smaller. You stop running. You start receiving because wealth is no longer some distant mountain you're chasing. It's the echo of your alignment. It meets you in your habits, in your decisions, in the structure you've built with your life. You walk into rooms differently now, not with noise, but with gravity, not with desperation, but with direction. You don't need to prove your value. You are value, and money knows it. It finds you. It follows you. It flows through you not as a destination, but as a byproduct of who you've become. You stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a creator. You stop asking, how much can I get? And start asking, how much can I build? You stop chasing wealth and start channeling it. Because the final stage of wealth isn't about accumulation, it's about amplification. Now your vision gets bigger. Now your mission gets deeper. Now you start asking, how do I make other people wealthy? How do I build systems that outlive me? How do I turn income into impact, profit into purpose, riches into revolution? This is where the real players operate. They're not just playing to win. They're playing to change the game. And if you're not wealthy yet, it's because you haven't yet stepped fully into this level of thinking. The level where fear no longer drives you, where scarcity no longer tricks you, where success is no longer about how much you can stack, but about how deeply you can serve while staying in overflow. And yes, you can get there, not with luck, not with gimmicks, but with unshakable belief and unwavering work. You are not lacking money. You are lacking mastery. You are not waiting on a moment. You are avoiding the mirror. You are not poor because you're cursed. You are broke because your life is still built on broke foundations, on undisciplined habits, on vague goals, on emotional decisions, on lazy routines disguised as busyness. But that ends now, because from this moment forward, you are no longer someone who needs wealth. You are someone who commands it through vision, through skill, through bold execution, through quiet patience, through daily, deliberate, undeniable effort. And it won't be long before the results start to reflect what's already shifted in your soul. You'll wake up different. You'll speak different. You'll think long-term when others chase fast thrills. You'll build when others scroll. You'll invest when others spend. You'll grow when others repeat. And the world will notice. Not because you're louder, but because you're realer, rooted, aligned, built on rock, not sand. And when the storms come, you won't shake. Because you didn't just make money. You made yourself. You made the mindset. You made the systems. You made the structure. And now, no one can take it from you. Not a bad year. Not a market crash. Not an opinion. Not even fear. Because you're not lucky. You're inevitable. Because inevitability is not built in the light. It's built in the hours no one sees. In the quiet repetition of right decisions. In the moments where you choose wealth in the dark, long before it ever shows up in your bank account. This is why you're not wealthy yet. Because somewhere, deep in your rituals, deep in your responses, deep in your patterns, you've been leaking power, leaking time, leaking trust in yourself, leaking energy on things that do not multiply. But now, You've seen the truth. You've looked wealth in the eye and said, I'm not chasing you anymore. I'm becoming someone you can't ignore. No more guilt around wanting more. No more shame around charging your worth. No more apologizing for thinking bigger, moving faster, reaching higher. Because you were never meant for average. You were never designed for debt. You were not born to survive the system. You were born to own it, to break the cycle, to raise the standard, to be the one in your bloodline who changed the temperature of the room. That starts with responsibility, not blame, not resentment, not waiting on someone else to go first. You go first. You lead. You build when others sleep. You study when others party. You prepare when others hope. Because now, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You no longer identify as broke. You identify as someone building wealth. You no longer see your job as a paycheck. You see it as capital to fund your evolution. You no longer scroll past opportunity. You spot it, study it, seize it, and you don't hoard wealth. You circulate it with wisdom. You move it into investments. You lock it into assets. You protect it with knowledge. You multiply it through creativity. Because now you're thinking like the wealthy. Long-term, strategic, unshakable. You don't rise and fall with the market. You ride it. You don't fear change. You profit from it. You don't hide from adversity. You grow through it. And the version of you that used to wait for permission? Gone. Replaced by a force that moves with clarity, walks with fire, and executes without apology. This is wealth. Not the car, not the house, not the lifestyle. It's the you you've become. The one who earns without anxiety, gives without fear, lives without limits. The one who knows deep down that wealth isn't something you find. It's something you forge. And now, you're the forge, the fire, the furnace where new realities are created. Because now, you are no longer watching wealth from the outside. You are building it from the inside. Then, let us finish this. Not with hesitation, but with authority. Because now you understand. You are not chasing money. You are chasing mastery. And mastery is the only guarantee wealth ever respects. So the question is no longer, how do I get rich? The question is, how do I raise my standards so high that wealth has no choice but to keep up? You don't rise by chance. You rise by choosing to outgrow your excuses. You rise by refusing to negotiate with mediocrity. You rise by building days so powerful, so intentional, so undeniably valuable, that the compound interest of your effort overwhelms every obstacle in your way. Because wealth doesn't reward the lucky. It rewards the loyal, the ones loyal to their discipline, loyal to their dream, loyal to their plan, even when no one claps for them. It rewards the ones who stayed in the dark and built light. The ones who were underpaid, underestimated, overlooked, but never outworked. And it rewards the ones who knew wealth was never about things. Wealth was about freedom. Freedom to walk away. Freedom to say no. Freedom to create without compromise. Freedom to rest without guilt. Freedom to choose legacy over lifestyle. Purpose over popularity. And that freedom, it demands everything. It demands your old patterns. It demands your small mindset. It demands the version of you that tolerates just enough. But what you gain in return is power. Not the kind that shows off, the kind that shows up. Power that funds schools. Power that builds empires. Power that feeds nations, changes families, and rewrites futures. That's the power that lives inside of you. But it won't activate through theory. It activates through action, through movement, through momentum. So, move. Today. Now. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for the right mood. Don't wait until someone believes in you. Become so valuable the world doesn't get a choice. Work in silence. Build in clarity. Grow in seasons. Reap in strength. And when the world finally sees what you've built, they'll say you came out of nowhere. They'll call it luck. They'll call it overnight. But you'll know the truth. That this was years in the making. That this was sweat turned to gold. That this was you unfolding, becoming, owning what you were always capable of. This is why you weren't wealthy yet. Because you were still in the cocoon. Still cracking through the layers of smallness. Still shedding the false identities. Still learning to let go of the noise and grab hold of the calling. But now, you're done crawling. You're done hesitating. You're done dimming your light to make others comfortable. Now, you rise. Not just in income, but in impact. Not just in followers, but in fortitude. Not just in revenue, but in reverence for yourself, for your gift, for the mission you refuse to leave undone. Because now you know you are not behind. You are becoming. And now that you've become, nothing will stop you. Not fear, not failure, not the past, not even success. You'll keep rising, keep building, keep multiplying, because your wealth was never a question. It was always a consequence of the decision you made to become the person who earns it, keeps it, and multiplies it with honor. This is your season, not to wish, not to want, but to win. You are no longer asking, why am I not wealthy yet? You are now declaring, I am the one who builds unstoppable wealth because I have become unstoppable myself. Now go and make it inevitable. Every year, the calendar flips. New month, new promises, new resolutions. But for most people, same patterns, same fears, same results. Because here's the brutal truth. If you don't upgrade your thinking, you will relive the same year with a different number at the top. 365 days on repeat. New clothes, same mindset. New goals, same excuses. New planner, same lack of clarity. The future does not change with time. It changes with transformation. And transformation starts in the mind. You do not rise above the level of your thinking. You don't get what you want. You get what your thinking is designed to create. Your thoughts are not passive, they are productive. Every belief is a blueprint. Every doubt is a delay. Every mental ceiling you refuse to break becomes a lifetime of limitation. And the most dangerous part, you won't even notice it because the mind is a master of justification. It will protect your comfort before it protects your calling. It'll say, you're doing enough. You're just tired. You'll start next week, but you know better. You know that last year didn't break you. It revealed you. It showed you the results of the thoughts you kept thinking, the routines you kept repeating, the stories you kept telling yourself that sounded like truth, but were really just well-rehearsed excuses. And if you want more, if you want next level results, you don't just need better habits. You need a better operating system because success is not a matter of luck. It's a matter of mental architecture. It is built by people who decided, I will not carry outdated thinking into a new chapter of my life. So how do you start? You start by taking full ownership of your thoughts. You stop blaming circumstance. You stop outsourcing responsibility. You stop making excuses dressed up as logic. You decide erratically that nothing changes outside of you until something changes within you. And that change begins with mindset. Mindset is not a buzzword. It's your internal compass. It's what filters your decisions. It's what interprets failure. It's what defines possibility. And most people, they never audit it. They live on thought patterns inherited from people who settled. They operate on software written by fear. They act on beliefs they never chose but still obey. Not you. Not anymore. You begin to question every thought that doesn't empower you. You interrogate every limitation, like a lie. You demand that your inner dialogue sound like someone who respects their future, because that's where transformation begins. When the voice in your head stops sounding like your excuses and starts sounding like your vision, from that mindset comes belief. Not motivational belief, not surface level hype, but belief built on evidence. The evidence of your past wins. The evidence of your resilience. The evidence that says, I've been through worse, I've survived it all, and I'm not done yet. Because belief is not emotion. It is discipline. It is the commitment to see yourself as capable, even when the results haven't caught up yet. It is the quiet declaration. I am not waiting to believe in myself until I win. I believe now so I can win. And belief sharpens clarity. Because once you believe you're worthy of more, you stop settling for confusion. You stop living reactively. You stop spending your life responding to everyone else's plans. You get clear. Clear on what you value. Clear on what you tolerate. Clear on what no longer has access to your energy. Because unclear people stay stuck, not from lack of desire, but from lack of direction. But when you're clear, your decisions become decisive. Your vision becomes magnetic. Your actions become undeniable. And that clarity fuels purpose. Because purpose isn't found. It's declared. It's chosen. It's built by people who stop asking for meaning and start creating it. Purpose says, I will not drift. I will not waste this year repeating the last one. I will not die with the same ideas still stuck in my head. And when you combine that purpose with discipline, you become unstoppable. Because discipline is what turns purpose into proof. It's what separates the inspired from the impactful. It's the line between potential and performance. Everyone gets excited on January honest. But who's still building with intensity on day 137? Who's still moving when the hype dies? When the weather shifts? When no one's watching? That's who wins. Because discipline is not punishment. It's precision. It's the art of saying yes to your future and no to anything that pulls you away from it. Discipline says, I will not wait for motivation. I will move with conviction. I will not be loyal to my feelings. I will be loyal to my mission. I don't need perfect conditions. I just need to show up. And when you do that, something wild begins to happen. You enter the realm of momentum. Small wins stack. Small habits compound. And your life stops being a loop and becomes a launch pad. And from that launch pad comes action. Not scattered action. Not panicked action. Aligned action. Action that is not reactive, but relentless. Not impulsive, but intentional. You no longer ask, is this hard? You ask, is this aligned? You no longer say, what if it fails? You say, what if I never try? Because now, you're not moving to impress anyone. You're moving because you're done being stuck. You're moving because clarity has consequences. And when you're clear on who you are, you can't go back to being confused. You're no longer available for distractions. You're no longer entertained by chaos. You're no longer seduced by average. You are moving with energy, with intention, with gratitude. Because gratitude is the mindset of momentum. Gratitude keeps you grounded. It reminds you that progress is a privilege, that every small step forward is a victory, that even the struggle is evidence of growth. You don't wait for the finish line to celebrate. You celebrate the discipline to keep going, because if you can love the process, you will never lose to the person obsessed with outcomes. Gratitude transforms your pressure into perspective. It says, I'm not behind. I'm being built. I'm not late. I'm learning. I'm not stuck. I'm being sharpened. And that mindset makes you adaptable because life will test your plan, but it cannot break your purpose. You don't pivot because you're lost. You pivot because you're wise. You know how to change direction without changing destination. You know how to shift gears without losing grip. You know how to embrace the unexpected without abandoning your expectations. That's how resilience is born, not by avoiding storms, but by growing through them. Resilience is the refusal to repeat the same year again, just because the world handed you another setback. It's the refusal to call last year failure, when it was actually foundation. It's the fire in your chest that says, I will not go quiet. I will not fade. I will not waste another day waiting to become. Because the future does not belong to those who had the best year last year. It belongs to those who refuse to let last year be the final word. And those who grow, they learn. Because learning is the ultimate advantage. It's the secret weapon of every person who refused to live the same year twice. Because when you learn, you grow. And when you grow, you graduate from your past. You stop being who you were and start becoming who you were meant to be. You stop being ruled by what didn't work. You start being fueled by what you understand now. Because nothing is wasted when your mind is awake. Every failure becomes feedback. Every delay becomes depth. Every setback becomes a seminar. You learn from your reactions. You learn from your resistance. You learn from your results, especially the ones you didn't like. You ask, what did this teach me? Instead of, why did this happen to me? Because victims ask why. Leaders ask how. How do I grow from this? How do I build from here? How do I use what happened to construct a life that transcends what happened? And when you do that, when you learn, apply, upgrade, repeat, you become unrecognizable to the version of you who settled. You no longer fit in the box that comfort built for you. You no longer entertain the mindset that got you stuck. You no longer water down your vision just to be liked by people who don't live with intention, because you've upgraded your thinking. And now you've upgraded your life. You see with clarity. You move with certainty. You speak with power. You walk through rooms with energy that announces itself without a word, because the mind that once limited you now leads you. And people will ask what changed. They'll ask how you transformed so fast, how you broke out of the loop, how you escaped the cycle that most spend decades trapped inside. And you'll tell them, I stopped carrying last year's thoughts into this year's opportunity. I stopped rehearsing doubt and started programming destiny. I stopped thinking like the old me and started building the new one. Because in the end, it was never about the calendar. It was about the code in your mind. It was about the story you told yourself. It was about the system you lived by. And now, you don't repeat years. You rewrite them. You don't relive your past. You repurpose it. You don't recycle old goals. You reprogram your identity. And from this moment forward, you live like someone who will never, never let another year be wasted by outdated thinking. Because your time is too short. Your calling is too real. And your potential is too powerful to be stuck on repeat. So now you know. If you want to change your life, don't start with the calendar. Start with your thinking. Upgrade it or repeat it. The choice is yours. Now choose wisely. Now build wisely. Now lead your year like your destiny depends on it. Because it does. And you are ready. You are aware. You are activated. Now go prove it. Not by what you say, but by what you think. Every day, every hour, every decision. Because the difference between another year lost and the best year of your life is the quality of your thinking. Upgrade it or repeat it. Choose upgrade. Because when you choose to upgrade, you're not just changing your year. You're changing your standard. You're raising the bar on how you show up. You're refusing to shrink into patterns that no longer serve you. You're declaring without apology that your past is not your prison. It's your platform, and you build from it with clarity, with power, with conviction, because the world doesn't need another person who almost started, who almost believed, who almost changed. The world needs you, fully engaged, fully awake, fully aware of the difference one aligned mind can make. And now you are that mind. You are the new thought. You are the new pattern. You are the new standard. You've stopped running loops and started running legacy. You've stopped waking up to survive and started waking up to succeed. You've stopped being loyal to limitation and started living like someone who respects their responsibility. Responsibility to your growth. Responsibility to your calling. Responsibility to show the world what happens when someone upgrades their mind and refuses to go back. So burn the old narrative. Bury the loop. Break the cycle. This is not a reset. This is a rebuild. And the foundation is this. You are not your past. You are not your delay. You are not your excuses. You are the one who decided finally to write a new mental code, to stop waiting, to stop wishing, to stop blaming. You became the thinker of new thoughts. You became the mover of new actions. You became the author of a new chapter. And from here forward, that's who you are. Not someone starting over, but someone starting right. Not someone hoping, but someone building. Not someone circling another empty year, but someone creating a life they'll never need to escape from. And that is what it means to upgrade. Not just your goals, not just your habits, but your mind. Because when your thinking levels up, everything follows. Your energy, your focus, your finances, your relationships, your results. So this is your invitation, your challenge, your moment. Upgrade your thinking or repeat the same year again. You choose. You lead. You build it. Now, go and never think the same way again. If you want to change your life, don't ask what you can get. Ask what you can give, because the law is simple, unchanging, undeniable. Value first, compensation second. Always. Not sometimes. Not when it's convenient. Not when someone's watching. Always. This is the fundamental truth every successful person eventually discovers and every unsuccessful person continues to ignore. The world pays in direct proportion to the value you create, not the effort you complain about. You are not paid for hours. You are not paid for intentions. You are paid for outcomes. Outcomes rooted in service, in usefulness, in delivered excellence. So if you want to raise your income, raise your value. If you want more compensation, create more contribution. Because no one gets rich asking, how can I get paid? They get rich asking, how can I serve better, faster, deeper, smarter? They don't say, I need more. They say, let me be more, and the increase will follow. This is the philosophy of powerful people, of builders, of creators, of leaders, of legends. They understand this truth. You don't chase rewards. You attract them by becoming valuable beyond question. You don't negotiate for worth. You demonstrate it. You don't ask the world to give. You become a giver so rare that the world can't help but respond. But this mindset is rare because it's hard. It requires maturity. It requires vision. It requires patience. It requires the discipline to do the work before the applause. And that's where most people break. They want the check before the value, the lifestyle before the mastery, the recognition before the results. But the laws of the universe don't bend to ego. They reward contribution. So I'm going to ask you right now, and don't answer with your mouth. Answer with your calendar. Answer with your energy. Answer with your habits. Are you creating value first? Or are you still sitting in the waiting room of life, hoping someone pays you for potential? Because potential is cheap. Everyone has it. The ones who get paid, they turn that potential into actual value. Value that solves problems, inspires change, makes people's lives better. That's it. Simple, brutal, fair. And let me tell you something else. Value multiplies. It's not linear. It's exponential. One day you're grinding in silence, doing the extra work, improving the process, exceeding expectations, and no one's noticing. Then suddenly, everyone's noticing. Why? Because value compounds in the shadows until it explodes into the light. That's the game, but only for those who understand the rules. Serve first. Solve first. Give first. Create first. Lead first. Let the money come later, because it will come not to the impatient, but to the indispensable. Be the person who makes themselves essential. Be the person no one wants to work without. Be the person who walks in and raises the temperature of the room, not with ego, but with impact. And you do that by asking every single day, how can I create so much value that people feel like they're underpaying me even when I haven't been paid yet? That's the fire. That's the code. That's the identity you step into when you stop waiting to get paid and start showing up as if you're already worthy of tanks the check. Because the truth is, the marketplace doesn't reward the needy. It rewards the necessary, the ones who solve it better, faster, cleaner, more consistently. Those are the people the world writes checks to. So if you're still waiting, it's time to stop asking what you're owed and start over-delivering like you've already been paid. Because when you live like that, when value becomes your first language, compensation becomes your second nature. That's how empires are built. That's how names are remembered. That's how real wealth is earned. And when you finally lock in that philosophy, value first, always something begins to shift in you. You stop walking into rooms asking, what can I get from this? You start asking, what can I bring to this that no one else can? And the moment you start thinking that way, you level up your life because you are no longer operating as a consumer. You've become a creator. You don't sit around waiting for someone to feed you. You become the fire that feeds the room. That shift from passive to powerful, from extraction to contribution, that's when you separate from the crowd. And when you separate, you elevate. And when you elevate, you dominate. Because you're not focused on the crumbs. You're building the bakery. You're not obsessed with being seen. You're obsessed with becoming so valuable that being overlooked is no longer even possible. Let me tell you something. If people aren't noticing your value yet, you don't need more promotion. You need more precision, more focus, more consistency, more value. Because when the value is clear, the compensation shows up. Sometimes it shows up as opportunity. Sometimes it shows up as partnerships. Sometimes it shows up as money. Sometimes it shows up as doors flying open that once slammed shut in your face. But it will show up. It has to. That's how the universe works. That's how the marketplace responds. It's not emotional. It's not personal. It's principled. And the principle is this: he who creates the most value wins. Not eventually. Immediately. Because people are starving for solutions, drowning in complexity, desperate for clarity, confidence, trust. So what do? You become the personification of those things. You become the solution, the clarity, the trust. You stop trying to convince people. You become the evidence. You show up with so much precision and excellence that people feel undercharged, not because you lowered your price, but because you raised your performance. That's what professionals do. That's what leaders do. That's what valuable people do. They don't ask, is this worth my time? They ask, is this worthy of my excellence? And when they decide it, they don't hold back. They go all in. They over-deliver. They outserve. They outwork. They outcare. And because they give like that, they receive without guilt. Because they know, I earned this. Not because I demanded it, but because I became someone it couldn't ignore. So if you're still hoping for the raise, still hoping for the break, still hoping someone finds you, sees you, chooses you, stop hoping. Start helping. Start serving. Start solving problems no one else is willing to solve. Start refining your craft so relentlessly that people feel like hiring you is the greatest decision they've ever made. You want to stand out? Don't do what's required. Do what's rare. Exceed expectations. Respond with excellence. Anticipate needs before they're spoken. Be the kind of person people brag about working with, not because you're flashy, but because your value is felt in every detail. That's when compensation becomes a formality. That's when you stop asking to be paid and start getting pursued. That's when your work becomes undeniable, because you became undeniable. And once that happens, game over. You've escaped the average. You've left the crowd. You've elevated yourself into a category so few ever reach. In demand, irreplaceable, invaluable. And when you become invaluable, when your presence is not just appreciated but essential, everything changes. People don't ask, what's your rate? They ask, when can we start? They don't negotiate with you, they align with you. Because the value is obvious. It's in the tone of your voice. It's in the precision of your work. It's in the way you make things better, just by being involved. You don't chase clients. Clients chase you. You don't chase approval. Your execution earns respect. Because when value is your foundation, you become the asset, not the employee, not the freelancer, not the option, the asset. And assets don't beg. Assets are protected, multiplied, respected. But you can't fake this. You can't shortcut it. You can't just want it. You have to become it. You have to live in a way that says, before I ask to be rewarded, I'll prove I can be relied on. That's how value moves. And value doesn't shout. It doesn't brag. It doesn't demand attention. It commands it with consistency, with character, with craftsmanship. And let me be clear, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being principled. Because even in failure, even in your off days, people can still trust you. They can trust your effort, your response, your integrity. Because value isn't just about skill, it's about how you show up when it's hard, when no one is clapping, when the results are slow, when the doubt is high and the reward is low. That's when value is forged. That's when compensation is earned, not just in currency, but in character. Because make no mistake, people are always watching, even when you think they're not. They're watching how you treat the small jobs. They're watching how you handle disappointment. They're watching how you respond when the lights aren't on you. And what they're watching for is consistency. Because consistency is the proof of value, not intensity, not inspiration, not a one-time wow moment, but a pattern of excellence that stacks brick by brick until you've built something that pays you for decades. So don't just be good once. Be good every time. Every meeting, every message, every email, every handshake, every result. Let it drip with intentionality. Let it reflect someone who doesn't do average work under any circumstances. And when people ask how you built this kind of value, how you became so trusted, so respected, so compensated, you tell them the truth. I made a decision that no matter what, I would lead with value. Before I got the job, before I got the credit, before I got the money, I chose to show up as if I had already earned it. And then I did. This is the code. This is the edge. This is the mindset that moves you from invisible to unignorable. So the next time you feel tempted to ask, when will they notice me? When will I finally be paid what I'm worth? When will it be my time? Answer it yourself, with your value. Answer with your effort. Answer with your excellence. Answer with your execution. Because when you lead with value, you stop needing to ask. You start becoming the answer. Because this is where everything converges. This is the climactic truth. You don't get paid what you want. You get paid what you are. And the world sees what you truly are through one lens. The value you consistently deliver, not the value you intend, not the potential you talk about, not the ambition you wear on your sleeve, but the impact you create over time without needing a spotlight. So let me ask you, are you the kind of person who leaves people better off every time you touch something? Every conversation, every project, every interaction, does your presence elevate the room? Because that's value. That's how you build a reputation that outlives introductions. You want to get rich? Become the person who can't be left out of the room. Not because of status, but because of significance. Be the one who brings certainty in chaos. Be the one who finds solutions before there's a problem. Be the one who doesn't need to be told because they already saw it coming. That's when you no longer ask, how do I get paid more? Because you know the truth. The more I give, the more I grow. The more I grow, the more I earn. The more I earn, the more I can give again. It's a flywheel, a beautiful, unstoppable cycle. But it only spins for those who begin by putting value first. So here's what I want you to remember, burned into your bones. Never show up with your hand out. Show up with your sleeves rolled up. Don't walk in saying, what's in it for me? Walk in saying, let me show you what's possible because I'm here. Don't calculate your worth by hours. Calculate it by outcomes. Don't beg for a raise. Raise the standard of everything you touch and watch the world raise its offer to keep up with your momentum. Because here's the final, immutable truth. Value is magnetic. Value is timeless. Value is your passport to every room you've ever wanted to enter. It doesn't need a resume. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need explanation. It walks in first and speaks for you before your mouth opens. So, from now on, let this be your code. Lead with value before they ask, before they pay, before they see you, before they understand you. Lead with value, not for applause, but for alignment with who you've chosen to be. Lead with value and the compensation, the opportunity, the freedom, the wealth. It will follow like a shadow you don't need to chase. Because the person who puts value first, that person is always paid last, but paid the most. The world will tell you to chase it, run after it, hustle harder, grind longer, get there first. But success, real success, was never meant to be hunted down like prey. It's not something you sprint toward hoping to catch. It's something you become magnetic to. Because success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract. By the person you become, you don't chase it. You embody it. You don't earn it with noise. You attract it through alignment. You don't catch it by running faster. You invite it by rising higher. Because the universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to preparation. It answers clarity. It reflects identity. And when your life is in order, when your values are sharp, your habits are sacred, your mind is clean, your purpose is clear, you begin to attract the opportunities, the people, the energy, the wealth that match who you've become. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. So if you're not getting the outcomes you crave, don't chase harder. Change deeper. Upgrade the signal you're sending. Because life doesn't give you what you beg for. It gives you what you broadcast. If you want more, become more. Not more busy. Not more noisy. Not more visible. More disciplined. More refined. more powerful in your being. Because when you become valuable, the world rearranges itself to make room for you. And that starts with mindset, not a motivational speech, not a pump-up moment, but a fundamental rewiring of your internal identity. Mindset is the magnet. It's the foundation. It's the code you write into your system that says, I don't need to chase anything. I become everything I need to be. And what is mine will recognize me. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. The belief that you are no longer a seeker. You are a source. That what you attract is based on the clarity of your thoughts, the discipline of your routine, the alignment of your actions, and the gravity of your presence. And that presence, it comes from belief, not surface level belief, not I hope this works belief, but I know who I am belief. I know what I stand for belief. I no longer ask for success. I prepare for it. Because belief isn't shouting. It's not affirmations with no evidence. Belief is quiet, stable, built in the dark, forged in the decisions you keep long after the mood you made them in disappears. Belief is how you hold yourself. When no one's clapping, when the room is silent, when the results aren't visible yet. And belief leads to clarity. Clarity is the silent superpower of high performers. You don't need to move faster when you're clear. You need to move cleaner. You start cutting what doesn't match. You start walking away from good enough. You stop diluting your message just to be accepted. You stop running after what you were never meant to catch. Because when you're clear, you're no longer chasing random. You're building intentional. And with clarity comes vision, not just goals, but a felt future, a vivid, undeniable picture of the life that's waiting to be built. Once you align with who you really are, vision pulls. It magnetizes. It wakes you up at 5 a.m. and keeps you grounded at midnight. It simplifies your decisions. It quiets the noise. It kills distraction because vision is a filter. And when you know where you're going, you stop needing everyone's map. You stop asking for directions from people who've never been there. You stop explaining your destination to those who've never left the driveway. This is where discipline becomes non-negotiable. Discipline is not about suffering. It's about structure. It's about aligning your actions with your intentions consistently, because attraction requires rhythm. It requires congruence. It requires the humility to repeat the right thing every day until success can't ignore you. You stop negotiating with your potential. You stop waiting to feel like it. You stop deciding based on how tired you are. You move like someone who's already aligned. You act like someone who knows success is coming, not because you're lucky, but because you are ready. That kind of discipline builds gravitational pull. It turns you into someone success notices, not because you shouted louder, but because you sharpened yourself silently. And from that silent sharpening comes action, not the frantic kind, not the scattered kind, but intentional, relentless, precise movement, the kind of action that says, I don't just want it, I'm prepared to hold it. I've built the capacity. I've earned the structure. I've honored the process. Because the universe does not reward ambition. It rewards alignment. And action is the bridge between your identity and your outcome. So you move, not out of lack, but from clarity. Not from panic, but from power. You move not to chase, but to confirm who you've already decided to become. And the more aligned your actions are, the stronger your signal to success. Success is not a finish line. It's a frequency. And your job is to tune your entire life to that frequency so it can no longer miss you. And what sustains that frequency is not just strategy, it's gratitude. Because when you're grateful, you become magnetic. You're not bitter. You're not needy. You're not asking life to complete you. You're already full, already steady, already vibrating with the awareness that you have everything required to multiply what you've been given. Gratitude shifts your posture. It removes entitlement. It creates internal wealth before external wealth arrives. And from that posture, you become adaptable. Because aligned people don't need control. They need integrity. They don't fear change. They flow with purpose inside of it. They bend without breaking. They adjust without losing their center. Because their power isn't in the plan. It's in the principle they live by. The principle that says, I don't follow comfort, I follow alignment. I don't serve my feelings, I serve my future. I don't ask life to be easy. I ask it to meet me at the level of my standards. And when life pushes back, when the results stall, when the setbacks hit, when the journey stretches you, you don't retreat. You rise in resilience. Because you know, resilience isn't just surviving, it's refining. It's the art of staying grounded when the winds change. It's the decision to keep moving when motivation is gone. It's the fire that says, I will not be shaken. I will not be small. I will not disappear just because it's uncomfortable. This is where most quit, where most get tired of the silent days, where most go back to chasing. But not you. You stand. You stay. You sharpen. Because you weren't built to pursue endlessly. You were built to attract consistently. And that consistency, it builds evidence. And evidence builds belief. And belief rewrites your identity. Until the old version of you, the one who begged, who chased, who doubted, can no longer survive in the light of who you've become. Because now you're learning, not just what to do, but who to be. Every day is a classroom. Every obstacle a mirror. Every delay a reminder that what's being built in you is just as important as what's coming to you. And you keep building, keep refining, keep aligning. Because success is not to be pursued. It is to be attracted. And now you're the magnet. Then let's bring it home. Not with noise, but with clarity. Not with hype, but with truth. Not with a finish line, but with a new identity. Because by now you know, success doesn't belong to the fastest. It doesn't belong to the loudest. It doesn't belong to the most followed, the most liked, or the most seen. It belongs to the most aligned, the most disciplined, the most rooted. It belongs to the one who stopped asking for it and started becoming it. Because you are no longer the person who chases. You are the person who attracts, not with desperation, with direction, not with begging, with being. And when people see you now, they'll ask, how did you do it? How did you rise so calmly? How did everything start coming to you? And you'll smile, not out of arrogance, but out of peace, because they won't know what you know. That success wasn't waiting for you. It was watching you, watching how you moved when no one saw, watching how you aligned when it was hard, watching how you stayed when it got silent, watching how you built not just results, but resonance. And when your life began to echo with truth, with discipline, with clarity, with purpose, success had no choice. It couldn't ignore the signal anymore. It couldn't resist the pull. It couldn't say no to the person who had already become the version of themselves, who could sustain what they once chased. So now you walk differently, not hurried-on, not desperate disciplined, not loud anchored, because you understand what few ever do. Success is not something outside of you. It is the inevitable reflection of the structure within you. So from this moment forward, don't pursue it. Prepare for it. Sharpen for it. Align for it. Become it. And let the world wonder how you stopped running and still ended up right where you were always meant to be. Success is not to be pursued. It is to be attracted. And now you are the attractor. You are the standard. You are the source. Now go, live it, walk it, be it, and never chase again.